Success is less about intensity and more about consistency.
So for the most part, our lives are mediocre instead of exciting, thrilling, and fulfilling.
Anything that you evaluate by face value saying this is bad could actually turn out to be good.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
What's up, Believe Nation? It's Evan. I believe in you, and this channel is designed to be a part of your daily success routine. So let's get your motivation to a 10 and get you believing in you. Grab a snack and chew in today's lessons from a man who went from being an electrical engineer working for Hewlett-Packard to becoming a monk and life coach, inspiring millions of people around the world around the importance of conscious leadership, happiness, and coping with stress. He's Gaur Gopal, and here's my take on his top 10 Rules for Success, Volume 5. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Get out of your comfort zone.
We are all created to fly, to live by the incredible potential that we have all been invested with. But often we sit on our branches, clinging to the things that are familiar to us, remaining stuck in our comfort zones, not willing to venture out, not willing to take risks. The possibilities are endless, but for most of us, they remain undiscovered because we continue to conform to the familiar, to the comfortable, to the mundane. So for the most part, our lives are mediocre instead of exciting, thrilling, and fulfilling. What is the branch that's holding you back from flying high? What's the fear that's stopping you from taking a risk? What is the weakness that's inhibiting your growth? Unless we cut off the branches we are clinging to and free ourselves, we can never take off and reach newer heights in our life. What are you waiting for? Cut the branch and take your flight.
Rule number 2, ignore the noise.
A vegetable vendor used a whiteboard with the words "fresh vegetables sold here" to attract people to buy his vegetables. A man came up to him and said, "Simply by seeing, we can tell that your vegetables are so fresh. Why do you need to advertise them as fresh? Rub off the word fresh." The vendor did so, leaving behind the words "vegetables sold here" on the board. Another man came up and said, "We know you're selling vegetables, not fruits. Why don't you wipe off the word vegetables?" The vendor complied. Left on the board now were 2 words, "sold here." After a while, an elderly lady approached him and said, "If you're sitting in the market, you're not giving your veggies for free, are you? Take off that sold." The vendor removed the sold, and the whiteboard had only 1 word left, "here." A schoolboy passing by teased the vegetable seller, saying, "Everyone in the world knows you're sitting here, not there. Why the here?" The vegetable seller erased the last word, making the whiteboard clean and empty. Another person came up and said, "Only a stupid man would keep such a nice whiteboard empty. Why don't you write something on it to advertise your vegetables?" Everybody around us has an opinion to make. Everybody around us has a suggestion to offer, and most often with the best intentions. But if we end up listening to what everybody else has to say, we may forget to do what we are inspired to do, what we are meant to do. In the noise of others' suggestions and opinions, don't lose your voice. Take good advice, but also learn the art of navigating through that advice to follow your own journey.
Number 3, don't evaluate life based on face value.
Anything that you evaluate by face value saying this is bad could actually turn out to be good.
Give me an example.
An example is how I came to the world on social media. There was a particular clip on WhatsApp that started circulating. Someone had played mischief, had taken a joke out of context, and had started circulating it. In fact, my inbox, WhatsApp, was filled with the same video, 3.8 megabytes, the day I got it 3 years back. And I was worried, God, what I'm saying could get me in trouble. And I thought, God, this is a difficult situation. In fact, I even called a lawyer to see what the repercussions could be, because what I had said could bring me in controversy. And it's quite amazing. It was that clip that actually brought me to the world. So what you see as a curse could turn into a blessing. What you see as bad could turn into good. So never, ever evaluate any situation based on its face value. Something you think is good could be absolutely destructive for you, and something which you think is absolutely bad and destructive could turn out to be something constructive. Didn't Steve Jobs say, therefore, connect the dots backwards?
Yeah.
Rule number 4, untie your mental blocks.
A farmer had 3 donkeys and was taking them for sale to the market. On the way, he saw a river and desired to take a dip. There was an issue though. He only had 2 ropes and thus would be able to tie only 2 of his 3 donkeys to a tree. How to tie the third one, he wondered. Around there, he saw a wise man and approached him for a rope to tie his third donkey. The man did not have a rope, but had a brilliant suggestion. He told the farmer, tie the 2 donkeys up to a tree with the ropes you have and make sure that the third donkey is watching. Then simply pretend to tie the third one. The farmer followed the man's advice and went for a dip in the river. When he came back, he saw that the donkeys stood exactly at the same spot where he had left them. He thanked the wise man, untied the donkeys, and patted the third one so it starts moving as well. After going a little distance, he turned around and was surprised to see the third donkey still standing at the very same spot. He tried cajoling and talking to the donkey. It did not help. He tried to push the donkey from behind, but it refused to move from the spot. Helpless, the farmer came back to the man who asked him, "Did you untie the third donkey?" "Untie? But I never tied him up," replied the farmer. The man said, "You know that. The donkey doesn't. It still thinks it is tied up." The farmer then went through the imaginary motions of untying the donkey. And guess what? Sure enough, the donkey moved immediately as though released and walked over to join its 2 friends. What's holding us back from moving ahead and reaching our dreams? Is it a lack of resources? Is it a lack of opportunities? Is it a lack of support? Or are we tied up by the imaginary ropes of doubt, fear, hesitation? Yes, we certainly need to work on the external parameters needed for our success. What is even more important is that we untie our mental blocks and expedite our journey towards our goal.
Rule number 5, be consistent.
Healthcare is shifting from treatment to prevention. Going to the dentist regularly is important, not just when you are in pain. Brushing his teeth twice a day every day and visiting the dentist twice a year could have prevented the pain he's experiencing now. Why wait for problems to occur in our life if we can proactively address them and save ourselves
so much pain. Going to the gym regularly is important, not just when you want a summer body. Small acts of love and kindness done regularly are important, not just the big gifts given on birthdays and anniversaries. It is the small things done rightly and consistently that make a huge difference in our lives. Success is less about intensity and more about consistency.
Rule number 6, change your outlook.
A tourist who was walking around a city came upon a construction site. He saw 3 men busy with their task of laying bricks. Wanting to check the inspiration, the motivation with which they were engaged in the exact same job, he asked the first man what he was doing. And the man said he was laying bricks. When he asked the second man the exact same question, the man said he was building a wall. When he turned to the third man and asked what he was doing, he said he was building a cathedral. 3 men doing the exact same task, but their outlook to their work, so different. The first man, an ordinary outlook, get your job done. The second man, a normal outlook, make something big that can make you big money. And the third man, an extraordinary outlook, seeing the bigger picture, not the brick, not the wall, but the cathedral, and doing his bit, playing his small part in making something spectacular. Such inspired individuals are happy to be a part of a larger purpose, happy to work together as a team, giving their 200% to what they do. Not only do they feel fully satisfied with their work, not only do they grow professionally, but they become heroes, often unsung heroes, in creating something incredibly amazing. During one of his visits to NASA, J.F. Kennedy asked a janitor mopping up the floor what his job at NASA was. And the gentleman instantly replied, "I'm helping send a man to the moon." So, are you laying a brick, building a wall, or creating a towering cathedral? Change your outlook and you will be outstanding.
Rule number 7, focus on what you have.
It was a lazy Sunday afternoon. 2 school-going friends in a small town had a crazy idea. They rounded up 3 goats from a farm close by and painted the numbers 1, 2, and 4 on their sides. That night, they let the goats loose inside their school building. The next morning, when the teachers, staff, children entered the school, they could literally smell something was wrong. They saw goat droppings all over the place and concluded that goats had entered the building. Now it was a mission to locate the goat. A team was assigned to look for the goats, and very soon the 3 goats with the numbers 1, 2, and 4 painted on them were found. The school authorities were relieved, but simultaneously worried. We found 1, 2, and 4. Where was the goat number 3? The search team spent the rest of the day looking for the goat number 3. There was panic, frustration. The school declared a holiday for the students only unto their joy. The teachers, helpers, canteen boys, everybody was busy looking for goat number 3, which of course was never found. You know why? Because it simply did not exist. Aren't we all like the search team in the school? We have our goats right in front of us. We all have a unique ability that no one in the world can replicate. But instead of making the most of what we have, instead of focusing on our gifts, our strengths, our potential, we often continue to look for the elusive, missing, non-existent goat number 3. We keep worrying about and chasing the missing piece, what we lack, what we have tried hard for and never found, what doesn't exist in us. And I'm not even saying we shouldn't try. We have to try our best before knowing something is not meant for us. But after trying hard for long and still not being able to reach even the basic success in doing something, I guess it's time to ask ourselves this question. Wouldn't it be better to focus on goats 1, 2, and 4 that I have and do something with them rather than chasing goat number 3, which simply doesn't exist in me?
Rule number 8, make the right choices.
A man got lost in a desert and had exhausted all the water he had carried a couple of days ago. He knew for sure that if he didn't get some water, he would certainly die. Although completely exhausted, the man didn't give up hope. He kept walking, looking for some sign of good fortune. Suddenly, he saw a small hut at some distance. Could it be a mirage, he thought, or maybe just a hallucination? But having no other option left, he edged closer only to realize that the hut was real. Gathering the last bits of energy left, he dragged his tired body inside the hut, hoping he could find some water. The hut was empty and seemed like it had been abandoned for quite some time. His heart skipped a beat when he saw what was in the hut. A hand pump. Water finally. He was overjoyed. He began working the hand pump, but no water came out. He tried harder and yet harder. No water. Finally, after putting in every bit of energy, he gave up out of exhaustion and frustration and sat down thinking, maybe I'm destined to die out of thirst today. And then a second ray of hope. He noticed a bottle in one corner of the hut. It was filled with water and corked up to prevent evaporation. He uncorked the bottle, and as he was just about to devour the life-giving water, he noticed a piece of paper attached to it. The handwritten message read, "Use this water to start the pump. Don't forget to fill the bottle when you're done." He was now in a dilemma to follow the instruction and pour the water into the pump, or ignore it and just drink the water. What if he put the water into the pump and it didn't work? But then maybe the instruction was correct. Should he risk it? If it turned out to be false, he would be throwing away the last water he would ever see. Have you ever been in a situation like this, where there are only two options and uncertainty about which one will work? What will you do? Which one will you choose? Well, you have to choose one and be willing to bear the consequences that it brings. Many people don't decide because they're fearful of the consequences, and they continue to remain confused in their life. The man decided to take a leap of faith. Hands trembling, he poured the water into the pump, closed his eyes, said a prayer, and started working the pump. he heard a gurgling sound and water came down, gushing out, way more than he could possibly use. He drank the cool, refreshing water to his heart's content and quenched his thirst. He was going to live. Feeling much better, he looked around the hut and found a pencil and a map of the region. The map showed that he was still far away from civilization, but at least now he knew where he was and in which direction to go next. He filled up his flask for the journey ahead, and as per the instruction on the note, also filled up the bottle and put the cork back in. And before leaving the hut, he added his own lines below the instruction. Believe me, it works. Most of us may not be confronted with a situation like this, where the choice made decides whether we live or die. Yet, we have our own journeys to take and our own choices to make. If the choice we make goes our way, fantastic. We can inspire people by telling them, believe me, it works. And if it doesn't go our way, we can share our mistakes, our experiences, our realizations, and empower people to make their right choices.
Rule number 9, find real peace.
There was a king who had a great fascination and love for paintings. One time he decided to offer a very valuable prize to the artist who would paint a beautiful picture depicting peace. On the final day of the judgment, many artists brought their paintings with the hope of winning that valuable prize. The king looked at all the paintings and selected 2 in particular, and now he had to choose one out of the 2 paintings for the valuable prize. The first painting, a beautiful, calm lake with clear, transparent waters. The lake was a perfect mirror to the towering mountains surrounding it. Above it was the blue sky with white, fluffy clouds like cotton balls floating in space. Anybody who saw this painting thought it was the perfect masterpiece representing peace. The second painting had mountains too, rugged, dry, bare. Above these mountains, an angry sky, overcast with dark clouds, lightning streaks here and there, a massive downpour of rains, a rumbling, ferocious waterfall cascading down on one side of this bare mountain. Peace, thought the people who saw this painting. As the king looked closer, he saw behind this rumbling waterfall a branch of a bush growing out of a crack in a rock. On the branch was a mother bird who had made a nest, and within the nest was very peacefully, with great affection, feeding its little ones. Which one do you think did the king choose for his valuable prize? The second one. The king explained, peace does not mean to be in a place where there's no noise, where there's no trouble, where there's no hard work, where there's no trials, where there's no tribulations, where there's no difficulties. Peace means to be in the middle of all mayhem and chaos, and yet to stay calm, yet to stay focused, yet to make that inward journey. And isn't that the story of real life as well? Spirituality is the art of bringing us to that inner calm, to that inner peace in our real life, with all kinds of difficulties, troubles, and problems surrounding us. That is the meaning and definition of real peace.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is have fun.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few videos.
Yes, I have. I read some of his posts on Facebook.
Yeah, I have collections of.
Gaur Gopal, yeah, I've seen his videos.
They're quite inspirational and knowledge-giving, and it also creates self-awareness about a lot of things, which we don't realize in day-to-day. So it creates a consciousness.
I think it's very soothing and he gives good information about life and all other things.
Logical thinking, deep thoughts. I think it is a vision for a new generation.
I think they're very relevant to life today, and I think he speaks for the young and for the modern world and makes a lot of sense.
I'll be delighted.
He's doing a great job, so I would thank him for his contribution to society and ask him to continue doing whatever he's doing.
It would be great if he could come here and, have some more live talks and more interaction with people like us.
Good evening.
He was kind of seated with his MacBook open and he's talking about
Hello.
Wow.
How are you? Good, how are you?
taking ahead this culture, what is that we have, and
Probably I will try to gain as much knowledge from him as possible. Oh my God! Are you kidding me? How are you? How are you, sir?
Now, I've got a special bonus clip from Gaur Gopal Das on how to find a balance that I think you're going to really enjoy. But before that, it's time for the 3-point landing questions. Time to move from just watching another video to actually taking action in your life or your business. And if you're feeling bold, leave your answers in the comments below. Here we go. Question number 1. What does real peace look like for you? Number 2. What right choice do you need to make today? And number 3. How can you change your outlook and focus on what you have?
There were two independent houses separated by a compound wall. In one lived a young techie, and in another, an elderly retired man. Both of them planted identical saplings on their respective side of the compound wall. The young guy supplied his plant with a lot of water and high quality manure. The retired man, however, gave his plant just a small quantity of water and a little manure. The techie's sapling grew into a lush, green, leafy, robust plant. The retired person's plant was a near normal but much luxuriant than his neighbors. One night, there was a heavy rain with gusty winds, and the next morning, both came out to see the fate of their plants. To the techie's surprise, his plant had been uprooted, whereas his neighbor's was unharmed. The techie turned to the neighbor and asked, "Why was my plant uprooted by the rains despite such good care, whereas yours stayed firm and strong despite just a little care?" The neighbor answered, "Look, young man, you supplied everything the plant would need in abundance. Since the plant did not have to do anything on its own to search for what it needed, the roots of your plants haven't gone deep down. I was supplying my plant just enough to keep it alive. For the rest, the roots had no choice but to go deep down into the ground to fulfill its needs. Since the roots of your plant were superficial, the rain and wind could easily fell it down. Since the roots of my plant were deeply grounded, it could easily withstand this onslaught of nature. Isn't the story similar to the way we deal with our children, with our youngsters? Sometimes we can be so possessive and overprotective of them. We can end up caring for them to the extent of pampering them, not giving them their space, the facility, the opportunity, and the impetus to grow by taking responsibility. On the other hand, if we just leave them to themselves without proper support and help, they may end up making wrong decisions due to lack of maturity. Caring for our children is exactly like caring for a plant. Underdoing it will make the plant die, but overdoing it will make the plant weak. It is the right balance that we make our children grow luxuriantly and bear flowers and fruits in the form of experience, wisdom, and maturity.
If you want another amazing video highlighting excellence in the Indian community, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.